Okay guys, the time has come. I am putting my beloved SV650 on the block for sale. This is a 2007 Gen 2 SV650, fully race prepped, ready to go. Stock front forks, traction dynamics, AK-20 cartridges. They were just rebuilt. I just got them back and installed them. They haven't even been ridden on yet. And that cost me about $1,200 because they had to completely replace the valves, shim stacks, all of that. The forks were straightened. There was one that was about 30,000th out. I have all the documentation on what was done with the front forks, as well as this logbook from the previous owner, and then all of the receipts from all the work that's been done to it since I've had it. So I'll read off the list. It's got an Öhlins rear shock that just came back from being completely serviced at Öhlins USA. And as I mentioned, traction dynamics, AK-20 carts in the front, freshly rebuilt and tuned. Their suspension guy at Traction Dynamics is a multinational champion on the SV650 and set up the forks. It's got a brand new, as of last fall, Scott steering dampener. And of course the bodywork is Armor Bodies. Really nice bodywork, really strong stuff. It holds up well. The paint on it's in really good shape. Let's see, the end of last season I raced 3 rounds with the New England Motorcycle Road Racing Association last year. Out of 7 races I was on the podium 5 times, and I was having a little bit of a problem with the engine starting at the end of the year, so the entire top end has been completely rebuilt. It's got single plug heads, stock bore, JE pistons, Gen 1 intake cams on the exhaust side. The motor was built by Waylon Dempsey at Rob's Dyno Service. The top end was. It has Carrillo H-rods in it. The bottom end was in good shape. Everything was checked. And it runs great. I've got a dyno sheet. It made 79.8 horsepower at Rob's on the dyno. Let's see, what else have we got? It had new intake valves put in it, all new valve springs. So the motor right now is bulletproof. It's ready to go. It's right at the 80 horsepower, and it should hold up well. We've got GB Racing covers on the engine cases for protection. It's got SV Parts rear sets set up for GP shift with a Power Commander 5. And I also have the plunger for going back to regular shift if you so desire. And that's pretty easy. You just put the new DynoJet sensor on right there and change it back to standard shift, and you can still have your quick shifter. So, like I said, I've got the receipts for the engine build. I've got the receipts for the suspension. It was about let's see, it was $12.94 from Traction Dynamics, and I think it was $2.45 from Öhlins for the rebuild on the rear shock, and I replaced everything in the rear shock and serviced it, so it should be good to go. It's going to have a fresh set of Pirelli SC1s on it. The bike will be available February 19th at Roebling Road. That will be, I'm racing Saturday and Sunday down there on the SV in the Sound of Thunder 3 class. Right now it's geared 1545. The chain is in excellent shape. Sprockets are like new. And I've got a ton of spares that I'm going to go over as well. The bike starts up super easy. It's about 38 degrees out, and I've had my bullet heater running for a while, so it's only about 40 in here, and the bike starts super easy. And it's really cold out, but it sounds really good. Brand new M4 exhaust system as of last year. So it's got a what they call a race Jenny in it, which is a Lighten flywheel with a race generator from Great Britain. Super lightweight flywheel, so it revs like crazy. The bike was super strong last year. I was really happy with it. We got the Motion Pro quick twist throttle on it. Brembo front master cylinder. I believe it's an RCS 19. Fresh race battery. Round 7, or the last round of Nehmer at Loudon last year. So I mean, this thing is get on it and go, basically. It's going to come with the front stand. It's a K and L supply front stand. It's kind of an odd front stand, but it's got different levels for raising it. It's got the correct SV pin in it, and that works well. And just a no-name rear stand will come with it, as well as I will provide the Pitbull restraint system for it. You'll just have to buy the base plate and bolt kit to put it in your trailer. I highly recommend the Pitbull restraint systems. Geez, I just don't know what else to talk about. It's got folding levers, clutch side, and of course the Brembo has the folding lever. And I mean, the bike has been fantastic, but I got a deal on an Aprilia that I just couldn't pass up. So that's what I'll be racing this year. Again, it'll be available after the SOT3 race at Roebling on the 19th of February, or anytime thereafter at Loudon. I'll be sure to be bringing it with me, and it'll be for sale. I'll talk about price in a minute. Let's talk about spares. Okay, spares package. We've got a set of, and these aren't really spares, the SV Racing parts. Tire warmers, they're digital, and you can adjust the temperature for it. A brand new set of Pirelli rain tires on wheels. It's got the bearings, it's got the captive spacers. You know, take off your slicks, put on your reins, and go on a rain race. An extra sprocket carrier with the captive spacer. 2 sets of Woodcraft bars for the clip-ons. Gearing. So we've got extra gearing. Right now it's 1545. I've got a Pitbull 16-tooth countershaft. And then we've got everything from 40. And that one is a 46. And there's an extra 45 there as well. So from 40 up to 46 on rear sprockets. They're all in excellent shape and easily changed onto the bike depending on the track you're at. We've got extra head gaskets, extra side cover gasket, some exhaust gaskets, and some other miscellaneous Suzuki parts. This is an extra fairing stay, front fairing stay. It's aluminum. The bike has been converted over to coil-on plugs utilizing Gixxer 1000 coils, and there's 2 extra coils in here, and the 2 that are on the bike are new. There's 2 extra sets of fuel injectors, and here's a couple of different. It's got the red cam in there for the throttle right now, but here's the extra throttle cams, I should say, and the plunger to go back to regular shift for the quick shift, and some other miscellaneous parts. There's some extra parts for the brake guard, a couple of extra clutch perches, an extra throttle assembly, some used brakes that were Galfer. I also have a set of new unused Versa front brake pads that'll go with it, and a set of stock rear sets. And I also have adjustment plates for those stock rear sets, so if you bust up your rear sets, you can put the stock ones back on with these adjustment plates and get it back to where it needs to be. So, you know, pretty ample pile of spares there, everything that you're going to need. I had to get new tire warmers for the Aprilia because of the tire size in the rear. But the bike's in perfect 100% ready to go racing setup. Everything's safety wired. I've been running it on VP 107 C12 fuel. That's what it was tuned on. and the bike really likes it. It runs great. Let's see, anything else? I really can't think of anything else. I'm sure I'm missing something, but I mean, it's been a very reliable bike. Even when the valve started getting tight and it was hard to start, I still podiumed second place. So, and it was probably down 30% on horsepower at the time. But the motor, like I said, it's been completely gone through. It does have Samco, I don't know if you can see it in there, the blue Samco silicone hoses throughout the whole thing. So the cooling system's all set up, ready to go with the Samco racing hoses. And yeah, I guess that pretty much sums it up. It's got the billet fuel tank cap. I do have a clear title on it, Arizona title, never been signed by the previous owner after he bought the bike, so it's got a clean title. I do have an extra spare front fender that's already painted black, and I think that's about it. I do have an extra rear shock spring. I believe it's a 95 spring. Right now it's sprung extremely stiff for Loudon because it's a bumpy track. It's got a 110 spring on the back right now, which is good for like 210 or so when you're wearing all your gear, up to about 230, 240. So you may need to change the spring, you may not. It just depends on how much you weigh and what kind of track conditions you're riding on. So now let's talk about price. Like I said, I've got quite the logbook here. As you can see, it's pretty thick. That was from the previous owner, and he saved everything. It's got all kinds of information from when the bike was started, and then of course I've got all of the documentation and receipts for what I've had done to the motor. Again, it's maybe 40 degrees in the garage and it fired right up. So it's definitely going to be a contender this year in any of the lightweight twin classes. Sound of Thunder 3, if you want to do ARMA, this bike qualifies for it. It's still 650 cc's, which is the cap. It's 649 stock bore, or 647. I don't remember what it is. But it's eligible for the Sound of Thunder 3 class. And like I said, everything has been gone over. All the pivot points, everything's been lubricated, everything's been set up. Steel braided brake lines, front and rear. You know, I don't know what else to tell you. Right now it does have a fresh set of DP brakes in it. And I love DP brakes, and I'm part of their sponsorship program this year. So my Aprilia is going to be running DP brakes. I just love the way they feel, and I love the feedback you get from them as well. So, again, it'll be available 19 February. That'll be my final Sound of Thunder 3 class race, and the bike will be available at Rolling Road. And we'll talk about price. Right now I'm asking $6,000 for it. I know it sounds a little bit steep. There's a lot of SVs out there for less money, but there's a lot of SVs out there that aren't as fresh as this. And this thing is 100% fresh, ready to go on the track. It'll have 2 races on it, both Sound of Thunder 3 class races from Saturday and Sunday at Rolling Road in February, and then I'll just have it up for sale at that point. So, any questions? Leave a question in the comments. And you know, I'd love this to go to somebody else who's either getting into racing and looking for a fully prepped race bike, or somebody who's looking to step up into the twins class. This will be the perfect bike for them.